3, 2, 1. You're now tuned into USSFCU Spotlight, where real conversations meet real people. Today's episode, Making Sense of Adulting. Hosted by our unofficial MC, Eddie Villanueva.
It's a beautiful day to talk about finances. Welcome back to the Spotlight Podcast. And I'm your host for today's episode, unofficial USSFCU's MC, Eddie Villanueva. And this is where we shine a light on topics that matter most to you and our communities as well. To my right, I have
Adrienne Lockett.
And to my left is
DiMatteo.
Before we dive quick but important note, this episode is for informational and entertainment purposes only. And the discussion, opinions, and experiences shared by the guests and myself are not to be considered financial advice. For financial advice or resources, visit ussfcu.org/FAS or ussfcu.org/GreenPath. It's a pleasure to have you, Adrienne, with Mr. Don. It's a pleasure to have this second episode. And let's get right to it.
Perfect.
Now, today, we tackle the ultimate financial mystery. Ooh, we love mysteries over here. How to afford avocado toast. So many fans of avocado over here. A mortgage and dignity in adulthood. All while navigating inflation that's hotter than our takes on who's buying dinner. I'm not it, guys. I'm not buying dinner. Adrienne, Don, and I are here to spill the financial tea. Oh, we love some tea over here. First up is ditching Netflix really the secret to financial freedom, or are we just streaming our problems away? What are y'all thoughts? Does cutting smaller costs out of your budget actually helps? What do you think, Adrienne?
I do think eventually in the long run, it will help. Depending on if you have certain goals, like if you are saving for a down payment on something, maybe cutting out your Netflix, and you know that you want to push this goal out for like maybe a year or two. I do think that eventually it will. You will see some sort of improvement in cutting back on avocado toast or Starbucks, Netflix, some of those little tiny costs.
And I think before we go to Mr. Don's, perspective, I think it's important to say, I don't know about Adrienne and Mr. Don, but it has happened to me that I'm like, $5 won't hurt, $12 over here won't hurt. But then if you accumulate 5, or 12 and 12, I think it adds up, and like you're saying, it adds up to or takes away from the goal that you're trying to accomplish. Mr. Don.
So first, I want to reemphasize what Eddie said. I probably will try to give you some financial advice, but you consult your financial advisor, your tax advisor. I'm going to share experiences with you, and then you either learn from them, consort others, etc. Okay? So absolutely, you've heard a penny saved is a penny earned. I'll give you 2 secrets you can research out there, and they're ways to eliminate debt. So as Adrienne mentioned, if you eliminate your Netflix bill, whatever you were paying for that, you can do 1 or 2 ways to get out of debt. There's one called the snowball effect, and there's one called the avalanche effect. I'm not advocating either. You research them yourselves. But what I mean by that is the snowball effect takes and targets your smallest balance debt. So if you did away with Netflix, whatever you were paying for Netflix, you put that dollar amount on top to pay off your smallest debt first. When that debt is gone, you take what you had for Netflix, what you were paying for that debt, and you apply it to the next debt. So the reason why people like that plan is because you see that you accomplish things. Your small balance debt goes away, and you start to build wealth. The avalanche is where you go after the highest interest rate first. Regardless of the balance, you go after the highest interest rate, and you get rid of that first. So to both of you, I would say yes. If you can cut back Netflix, Prime, HBO Max, Hulu, anything like that, and start applying that to other debts, you'll benefit yourself in the long run.
I like the advice, but it hurts me because I love me some Netflix. I love me some movies, but like, Mr. Don was saying, and Adrienne as well, it's all about the priorities, what you're trying to accomplish when it comes to finances. Mr. Don, I like that you mentioned, all those, methods to, cut your debt. So are there unseen ripple effects of cutting small costs across different life stages?
Absolutely. And probably what I would tell you, you'll hear this again, is it's never too late to start a financial budgeting plan, a wealth building plan, savings plan. So the ripple effect is you might do without early on, but your goal is to have as you get later in life, and I'm sure we'll discuss this further.
All right. I like that. I like the answer. You said that's perspective, and it's about being disciplined when it comes to your goals, what you're trying to accomplish. You can probably live without the Netflix if you want to trying to get that home. From the individual struggles to a collective understanding, let's dive into how financial journeys across generations inform our shared financial future. Wow, financial future is the key to success. So what are some things that has come as a big financial surprise to you as you have gotten older, Adrienne?
As I've gotten older, I now realize that cost of living has gone up. What my parents probably paid when I was younger is not what they're paying now. How could they prepare me for it? Better knowledge of financial savings and credit. But definitely the cost of living. And I didn't expect to pay this much to be an adult.
Adulting 101.
Yeah, I didn't expect it, but I'm glad I do have my peers and my family to support me along the way, whenever I do have questions or concerns when it comes to that. But.
Definitely. And I think, it's important to highlight what you were saying, that as we get older, we realize that, hey, living at home is not for free.
Right.
Hey, filling up the fridge is not for free either, So it's a lot of those surprises that you want to be prepared for as well. Mr. Don, any surprises on your journey with your, finances and your life experience when it comes to costs?
From costs, so I would like to advise our audience about medical costs, probably that in particular. Medical insurance, self-insuring yourself is very expensive, so you'll want to plan for that. So I would say, well, it's not a surprise. It's a reality that we have to prepare for. If you own a home, you still have utilities, taxes, insurance.
Yeah.
So you're still essentially going to pay something even though your home is paid for. So a lot of goals are to pay for your home. Great. I suggest you do that. But you're still going to pay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're renting, rent is only going to go up.
Yeah.
Taxes are only going to go up.
Here.
Insurance
That's
is
right.
only going to go up. So from a surprise standpoint, it wasn't a surprise other than a reality check.
Yeah.
For me, as the older generation, it's a reality check. In my opinion, I'm almost at that stage.
For disclaimers, 100 and below, we're all young at heart.
That is the reality.
We know that. Yeah.
And I'm almost at 100.
No, not at all. I think something that makes me think about what Mr. Don said is like, when you get at home, sometimes people look at the paperwork and they're like, oh, I can afford a mortgage payment, but they don't think about the unexpected expenses. Or for example, when you're buying a car, you might be able to afford that card note for that, whatever car is that you like, your preference. But the maintenance that comes behind it, the oil change, instead of using regular oil, you might use synthetic. Are you really prepared for that, And
Or your HVAC system dipped out.
oh, it's imagine in the house. Yeah, that's a little bit expensive as well, And I think you need
Oh, and it will go out.
and it will go off.
It will.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
It's just probably here. They're probably going out. Who's ever watching?
Right. I hope you have a fan where you are on the AC going on. Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for sharing, both of you. And I'm loving this conversation. I'm learning different perspectives, both from the experience and that was we're trying to make it out here as well. And you're still young, so of course, we have heard different generations, mostly the younger one speaks about how they don't feel prepared financially. Do you all think that has been a shared sentiment across the board?
If you're asking me to start, I would say the younger generation probably does, right? Interest rates might be higher than what they've ever had in their lifetime. They might be graduating and have school debt. Groceries are going up. I'll probably circle back to what I said earlier. And there are budgeting tools, plans, and you should start now. And I'll let Adrienne speak to your question, and then maybe we'll circle back and I'll give you a couple of hints of things you might want to try.
So do you think across the generations, Adrienne, people feel unprepared financially? Do you think just like, is that like a younger generation thing? You think maybe some older folks feel that they might not be financially prepared as well?
I would say it depends on the household you come from too. Your family should be the staple of your financial where you go. If you live in a household where you see your father pays all the bills, that might have something to do as you're, my age and you don't have a partner or a significant other or a spouse. Then you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm expecting my husband or my, to take care of all the bills or to, so I do think that it's based on how you were raised. But again, like Mr. Don said, there are plenty of apps. There's Facebook groups now. I think that a lot of our generation has come together to try to help one another. We have Green Path that's able to help as well. So it depends on where you come from in your mindset.
I agree with you. I think from what you're saying, Mr. Don, thank you very much to both of you. These are the sentiments across the board, because sometimes people were very prepared at a young age. Some of them were just trying to make it out here. And that's the reason why they perhaps don't have the tools. But that's the reason why now we have so much technology, so many tools out there, budgeting. You don't have to struggle. You just have to do due diligence as well. You ready to play a game, guys?
No.
We're going to play a game. All right. All right. So I'm going to list a few categories and both of you will rate them from 1 to 5. How prepared you feel your generation is for each and explain why. So when I give you the category, we're going to start with Adrienne. Okay. You tell me from 1 to 5. What do you think in this category are millennials, right? Okay. Shout out to the millennials, how prepared are we, do you think, so give us a
I thought I was the millennials.
Yeah, you're part of the millennials. 2.0. Millennials 2.0. All right. The first category is debt management. From 1 to 5, why do you think you're going to give it the grade that you're giving it? Debt management. And if you want a little description, is control over high interest debts.
Okay. What I'll give millennials for this, between a 3 and a 4, only because, again, like I said, there's plenty of apps and things for us to engage with to get on track. I would say between a 3 and a 4.
I think I can agree with you.
Yeah.
And, I would add to that is because sometimes I feel like our generation thinks like, oh, I'm still young. Right. I still got time to save. And then reality hits. Yeah. Like you were saying, the reality check, right? Unexpected things. One day you wake up and the knee is hurting more than usual. And you're like, what's the knee hurting now,
Go to the emergency room and that's $100 copay.
There you go.
Whatever your copay is.
So I feel like it's one of those things, and thank you for sharing that, is that we know that we can be prepared, but are we taking action on that? So I think it's 3 to 4, I can agree with that. So Mr. Don, for debt management, your generation, how prepared are they from 1 to 5?
I'm going to think they're very prepared for maybe a 2, maybe not a 1. But they're going to be pretty prepared for it because my generation probably has already bought their home and they might have a lower interest rate from the past. My generation probably already has a credit history, and we probably will get to this later, but a credit history that they've been able to build over time, which allows them opportunity for lower rates. They probably would have built up their 401k, and things like that. So I would say from debt management, my generation was probably pretty prepared.
You would say, 5 being the highest and 1 being the lowest. Yeah, so 5.
4 or 5 then. My apologies, yes.
No, and I agree with you. I think, the older generations have experienced more. They have more experience and knowledge to share with us. So I will agree with the 4 and 5. We see like that a little bit okay prepared, and the ones that is like, hey, I know that things will come, things that are unexpected, and then they will be prepared for those things. All right, Mr. Don, emergency saving.
Again, 4 or 5. I think that we would have, in our generation, been able to build we've had a longer time than the younger generation to build wealth, to build equity in our property if we own one, to build 401ks, to put money aside for an emergency. You asked about a surprise earlier in the conversation. I do read that some of my generation is still living paycheck to paycheck. So I don't think I mentioned that as a surprise earlier. And again, my advice to them would be, it's just never too late. There's tons of budgeting tools, tons of financial planners, fiduciaries. The credit union has tons of these tools here to help you. But I would think overall, my generation is probably pretty prepared.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you all are prepared for those emergencies. But at the same time, like you said, there is, that small percentage per se that still needs the help. And that's the reason why we do this, type of podcast, to make sure that all generations can benefit from these experiences that we have. Whether you're younger generation, a little bit older with more experience, we want to make sure that that the credit union is here for you. All right, Adrienne, I think we might agree that the bar might be set a little lower for this one, the rating, because emergency savings. Do we think about emergencies as millennials?
No, at one point it was like $1,000 for emergency savings. I don't know what $1,000 is doing for an emergency.
Not your HVAC.
Definitely not that. So yeah, I definitely give probably like a 2. So we're on track with savings. Again, it all depends on your mindset. It really does. But yeah, I'll give a 2 for that one. Okay, 3 to 6 months expenses saved up. It's kind of hard for us.
It is, especially with everything going up.
Yeah.
We try to prepare for those surprises. But as you see, like you're saying, the HVAC is very expensive and things just keep going up.
Yeah.
We do have it in my opinion, we have it in the back of our heads, like, hey, I need to prepare for those emergencies. But then in reality, we're like, it's going to be maybe, I'll have a couple more years. I can wait a little bit. I say tomorrow. Yeah. And then tomorrow happens and you're like, oh, I wish I could have that yesterday, so. All right, Adrienne. How about investment knowledge?
Investment knowledge.
I think this could go 2 ways, but I want to hear your point of view.
Investment knowledge, I want to give it a 3 just because, again, there's plenty of groups that come for e-trading, It depends on what you're looking to do. As far as that, I'll give it a 3. I'll give it a 3.
A 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I will give it a 3 too. Investment knowledge, due to the fact that I feel like our generations know about investments.
Yeah.
But they don't, perhaps Mr. Don will, expand on this, but they analyze the situation, like the loss, how much you were putting down, how much can you lose? I feel like our generation is very aggressive, they know how to invest, but are they doing it with like an intent or like strategically, how are they investing? So investment knowledge.
I might disappoint you both on this one. I'm not sure that my generation holistically knows about building investments to build wealth. I'm not so sure that the bulk of my generation understands the markets, understand how they perform, doesn't overreact. You can use just a few months ago watching the tariff situation, right?
Yeah.
So many people, and it's probably my generation, so many people got nervous and sold all their stuff, and stocks and all plummeted. And then there's others in my generation that say, I'm going to buy everything because we're going to take that advantage of the sell-off and the panic. So I'm going to say we young generation aren't that familiar with investing. Again, I'll plug our credit union. We have investors, investor fiduciaries that can help you and draw out a plan for you. So a lot of that is free service. Take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Take an opportunity to learn a little bit.
And as you can see, you have both, sides of the, the conversation, how in one point, our generation is very aggressive with risk. We're like, what, let's go for it. What can happen? And then sometimes they lose it all or they make a good profit. Yeah. But then you have the other side as well. Like, hey, let's be more conservative. Instead of investing this amount of money, let's do a little bit less than that. So, and it's just a matter of, getting that knowledge from the proper resources, and telling your financial advisor, like, hey, this is the goal. And they will be able to guide you to that goal. All right, Mr. Don, how about gig economic resilience, ability to adapt to irregular income?
I'm going to give us a 3, 4, 3.5 on that because we can't control some of the things that happen in the economy, right? But again, if we were following our plan from an earlier time frame, then we would have some money aside that could handle the ebbs and flows or the emergency fund or the HVAC or those sort of things. But is my generation totally prepared? Probably not.
All right. And Adrienne, the same question for you. Gig economic resilience, ability to adapt to irregular income.
I will give us a 4, only because I do think that as a millennial, we aren't afraid to get up and change jobs depending on the market. So if there is someone paying the same job position more open here, or if I have to get certain certifications to be qualified for more income or for more money, then they will do as so. So they're always chasing the bag, so to speak. So I'll give us a 4 for that. The market's changing. Okay, let me go get a second job, or let me go make income without having to show my face. Maybe I can make ebooks or something. Just an extra source of income. So I'll get a 4 for that, just to try to.
You heard from the expert, chasing the bags. That's what's right. And I think, you see this, this topic reminds me of like how resumes are nowadays. You see some resumes that you see people in their jobs for 20 years, 18 years, 10 years. While you see the younger generation is like, 2 years here, 3 years here, 1 year here. And then some people might be like, are they unstable? They don't know what they're doing. But like you're saying, they want to collect, those coins. They want to make more money. Versus other people are like, I can work with this. I can get comfortable with this. And they just stay, in those jobs. But wow, I like that. Thank you very much, guys, for sharing that. Now, this is a hot topic. It's the topic that I think is discussed perhaps daily. And I know you touched a little bit on it, Adrienne, earlier. Housing affordability. How knowledge are we on housing affordability from 1 to 5?
I mean, I want to say, I'll say 3. I want to say we have the knowledge, but do we have the proper, again, most of us have student loans.
Mm-hmm.
The market is aggressive towards us, I believe. So it's like we're kind of scared to jump all the way out there because we're still paying off stuff. So I have 3. I'll give us 3. 3. As far as the knowledge.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because, the description says ability to afford or plan for housing. I think it's still on 3, like you're saying. Because we want to buy. I think, I have, if I ask, the 3 of us, we probably want to buy, But can we afford it? And Mr. Don, that's a different story, probably. He's going to give us his explanation.
One, I'm going to tell you that you can afford it. We're going to put you on a plan, and we will make you well aware of how you can afford it, okay? And that would be the financial advice I said I might give. But you should check with your financial advisor.
Yes.
But my group, I would say 5. I would say we should, or are experts. That's probably our number 1 asset. It probably has equity because we bought years and years and years ago. We've been paying on it for a while. Not all of us have to relocate all over the country, especially in this market. Up until recently, all our jobs have been fairly stable. So like you were saying earlier, 20 years on a job is nothing to someone like me, whereas the younger generation might have to hop for income to income. So, but I would give us a 5. I think that the bulk of my generation probably owns a home and has equity in it.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that, Mr. Don. I was talking to somebody earlier. I forgot who it was, but they were saying how if you have equity in your home, and then let's say you're like, I don't know if I'm ready for retirement, sell that house and go to a cheaper state area of the country where the equity that you have on that home is going to help you, get the other house and you don't have a payment monthly. So it's one of those things that, they have the knowledge and they, the market has changed so much. And, believe me, I'm one of those that I want to buy a home hopefully soon, but that's the reason why we're getting this knowledge from the experts. And of course, we're learning as well.
We will help you. When you're ready, I'm glad to sit down with you and help you figure out a plan to get you at home.
Right? I appreciate that. Now, Mr. Don, how prepares your generation for retirement saving?
So I think I rated us a 3 on that before, right? Because we have some in my generation still living paycheck to paycheck, and we might be counting on Social Security. We might be counting on Medicare. I'm not as worried about Social Security. It's a personal opinion. Don't hold me to it. But I am more worried about a Medicare and the cost of insurance as we get older. Our health starts to deteriorate and those sort of things. So I think my generation has had their plan and enacted their plan. And we'd probably build up our 401ks or our stocks if we had them. We built up some savings. But there's part of my generation still that may not be aware of basic budgeting. And I know I'm being long-winded, but I want to go back to this for a second. Even if you own a home, let's just pretend you own a home, it's $400,000. Okay, it's worth $400,000. It's still going to cost you about $1,000 a month, even if you have no mortgage, because you have to have insurance.
Yeah.
Depending on where you live, you have to have taxes.
There you go.
Have to have utilities. You have to pay for the water, all those things, right? So even when your home is paid for,
You still got
you
expenses.
still got expenses. Now you have an asset worth $400,000.
Right.
So to your point, you could sell that asset, take that money, downsize, buy a less costly home, and then you have, let's say you buy it for $200,000, you have $200,000 just left over
Right.
that you can invest and make more money. So
Wow, interesting. See, there's things that you don't think about. I'm like, I buy the house and then call it a day. But you have those expenses,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Do we even think about retirement, Adrienne, like our generation? Or are we too far ahead from retirement?
Some of us are far ahead. I do believe that the ones that do, they probably cashed out for 30, since maybe buying a car, or
Yeah.
they just don't think that it's gonna last them by the time, it's really ready to retire. That's kind of hard. I would think probably,
What, one? What?
I'll give us a two. I'll give us a two.
Give us some grace,
Give us a two.
I know, some of us are, very good with the 401k. But I think it's about diversifying as well, because sometimes we're like, 401ks, all they teach us, and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's it. That's all for retirement.
That's
But
right.
as we know, and we have looked at the webinars, which, by the way, we do a weekly Wednesday webinar every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So we talk about IRAs, shout out to Madison Love. She's an expert in IRAs. So I think I will give us, like you say, like a two, because some of us are worried about it, but are we really planning for it,
It's not being pushed.
being pushed.
Yeah.
All right, Adrienne, we're going to get close to the game. A couple more categories, but long-term financial planning, existence and regular review of a long-term financial plan. Do we do for the financial plans as millennials?
We do plan. Do we follow the plan?
That's the real question.
Yeah, then plan by your mindset. So for that, that was a 3. Because you do have some people that make a plan, follow, stick through it, and they're rewarded at the end. Some people that might have little hiccups here and there, but they'll get back on track. And then there's some that probably have a plan written down, but don't know where to start. So I'll give us a 3.
A 3. Do you stick to your financial plan, then, Mr. Don?
actually I do. And then I make my plan a little more aggressive as I'm getting older.
Yeah.
So I might amp up my savings plan or my investment plan as I'm getting older, as I look at my long-term goals and am I on track. We talked about 401k. So as you get older, you can actually do some makeup. Some folks may not know that you can do some makeup. Some folks, you mentioned IRAs. Some folks may not realize you can buy IRAs later. And higher dollar amount IRAs is makeup. So there's things like that I'll speak for myself, but a lot of my generation probably doing the same thing. We're probably amping up to get to where we need to be so that when we are retired, we live comfortably. And when we get to it later, I do want to talk about 401ks.
For sure.
But when we get
Definitely. And I think the key element to take out of, these answers right now is stick to the plan, stick to the plan. So our millennials, please don't give us a bad name. Stick to the financial planning. Last but not least, financial literacy, understanding of personal finances, basic examples like budgeting, interest rates, and etc. So in all that, topics about financial literacy, how prepared is your generation?
bulk of my generation, I would believe, would be a 4 or 5. I think we're pretty prepared. We've had numerous years of experience and say ups and downs in the economy, where my millennial friends may not have seen all those. They're probably seeing a high point up, but we have seen it go like this, right? So I would say we learn from that, and we understand budgeting, and I think we're getting prepared.
All right. And Adrienne, last but not least, like I said, financial literacy.
Financial literacy. I want to give us a 3 for this, just because when it comes to the terminology, all we know is, okay, my loans due this day, we're going to pay it. We don't care where the money goes. We know that it's gets paid. But then I do have people call in and they're wanting to know, okay, my payment is $500. How come my balance hasn't decreased $500? So I have to explain to them, you have the principal balance and you have interest as well. But again, most of those are millennials that are calling, just wanting to know the breakdown of, why isn't my loan decreasing $500? Because some of it is going into interest. But so it's 3.
3. Yeah. As you can see with all these categories, millennials varies either half going a little bit up or half a little go down. Yeah. While the older generation is a little bit more prepared, because as Mr. Don was making a great point, they had to have seen the economy go up and down while we just saw it going up to all the way down. We're like, how do we act, But they learn from it, and that's the reason why we're having this discussion, to learn together. All right, I want to give you some facts. So according to a few studies over the past 5 years done by Charles Schwab, AARP, and a few others, it seems that younger the generation, the higher the financial stress and anxiety. Wow, that's interesting, right? However, financial preparedness has a profound human impact across the board. Like we were saying, there's like those people that perhaps are not prepared, or they're prepared whether they're younger or older as well. Let's explore how communities and financial institutions can alleviate financial stress and shame to foster a sense of safety in financial conversations. Guys, have you ever played a game of hot potato? All right, we're going to play another game. I love games. And then I'm going to go through a series of questions, and then the first thing that comes to mind, please, make sure that you share, And then, obviously, financial stress has an emotional impact that varies from generation to generation. So, Adrienne, what are some differences and how do you think each generation copes?
The differences. Okay, so I know that as a millennial, some of us might overspend. Then they just feel good or hoard. Those are good ways to cope. Others will probably, I'm going on a strike of no spend for the month of August. So I'm not outside of my, bills. I'm not to spend any extra money. So that's how I'm going to try to cope. And then hopefully at the end of the month, I'll see some sort of reward for it. And then from there, I'll either invest it, pay off a bill. But there's different ways to cope. Just depends on your mental.
It just depends on your mental, and it depends on what works for you.
Yeah, what works for you.
But definitely, we see some differences. Even in, between millennials, we do things differently,
Yeah.
So how do different generations cope when it comes to financial stress?
Financial stress is unhealthy, right?
Yeah.
For every generation, my generation, your generation,
Everybody.
Body who is struggling financially experiences stress, and it's unhealthy. So, my advice would be, get your plan together, get your plan now. It's never too late to start. I don't care what your generation is. Follow your plan. Believe in your plan. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses. Okay, if the Joneses are driving Lamborghinis, it's okay if you're driving a Kia or whatever else that's not a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Right? Follow your disciplines and work on ways to build wealth. Simple example. I'll give you a simple example here at the credit. Ready? And it's anywhere, but a lot of people have a checking account and they put a lot of money in a checking account. That checking account might be paying 0. Then you have a savings account. It might be paying 0.05, 0.10, right? But there's another tier, a money management account. That might be paying 1% or 2%. Then there's another tier, a CD, that might be paying 3 or 4%. Keep as minimum amount that you can in these first 2. Put the rest in your money management. It's just taking advantage of free money, right? There's free money everywhere to be had. And we'll probably touch on it later. But when you start a plan simply like that, you'll start to see the results when you're earning free money for keeping your money in different tiered accounts at the credit union or elsewhere.
And I like to thank you very much, both of you, for your perspectives. And sometimes people think that, financial stability doesn't bring health, but it actually brings a lot of peace of mind and that, healthy mind that you might need, because who wants to be stressed? Nobody wants to be stressed, but when you have enough money for bills, you have enough money for, your children, for all of those emergencies that we are talking about, it brings that tranquility that you need. So, something to keep in mind for everybody that's watching, and even us, always make sure that your finances are straight, because it's going to give you that peace of mind that you're looking for. And it's going to be one of the components that will make you healthy as well. Right, Mr. Don? And I think you touched on this earlier, Adrienne, but we're going to start with Mr. Don and I think you touched on it as well, is how can family dynamics impact the ability to discuss money?
Well, first off, you hear the old joke, don't borrow money from your family.
No, don't.
Don't lend money to your family. But if you're going to do that, you better get it right and figure this out. Okay, so we'll stop with the jokes like that. But some family dynamics make it. There may not be a financial expert in your family, and there may. What might be a better fun family activity, since we're just using the family,
yes,
is to have the entire family come visit with a credit union financial counselor, because the families are at different stages.
Yes.
So, but the family can come down as a combined unit and learn what's right for them and plan together. And those are tough conversations to have with your family. Some families are very good with financial advice and planning, and some are not. It's not a point of being proud at that point. It's about being smart and getting some professional, good financial advice is smart, especially if it doesn't cost you for that free financial advice.
And Adrienne, I think you talked about, family dynamics earlier, how your upbringing, talks a lot about how you're going to feel about finances, how knowledgeable you're going to be, or how open you are going to be about, that certain topic. So how does family dynamics, impact the ability to discuss money?
So family dynamics are very important because they're your teacher, your parents are your teachers. So you want to make sure that they're in a good standing, because it's going to trickle down to you eventually. And knowing that having zero credit is just as bad as having or having no credit is just as bad as having, that score of 100 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I hope no one has bad score, but again, that wasn't really taught. But as well as that, or who keeps up with the bills, or, who was giving all the money. Me and my significant other both get paid, and all the money is going in my account, and I'm supposed to pay the bills, and he doesn't know where the money's, like stuff like that. I feel like it needs to be a group effort, because if it's a group effort, we could tackle on our debt together, where it's two incomes versus just one income. Granted that my significant other agrees that, hey, we both have, loans we want to pay in a short amount of time. So can we tackle these together? We'll pay off the one with the least amount of money, or the one with the highest interest rate first, but we're going to jump into it together. So that's very important, because if you see that in your family, then you know what to carry when you have your own family.
Oh, I really like that, especially because it's a great segue for the next, question, which I want to ask you. And of course, I'm interested to hear Mr. Don's perspective. Senior.
I really loud that one off. Before we go to that, though, I want to touch on one thing you said. So I think that's a great comments you made, that while you're tackling it together in the family dynamics, I might also say along that line is, both of you need to know, right? You said, well, one may pay the bills, the other may not know what's being. Everybody needs to know in the household. I hate to say that. I get some people are better at that than others, but you want to be prepared to be self-sufficient.
For sure.
Whether you're never going to be self-sufficient or not, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's an insurance plan.
Yes.
So you know that you can be when if the time ever may come.
Yeah,
Communication is key, I feel like, because like he was saying, maybe you might be the finance savvy, you know, while the other person might be like a little bit struggling, you cannot be assuming.
Right.
You gotta make sure that you have that established, and
Yep.
you know, it's one of those conversations that you want to have. So we're talking about families, right? And I know me and you always talk about like, what's the next move? Like, how we're going to expand the families and things like that. So what are the implications as we get older, starting our own families and moving through life's milestone?
So just kids in general. I don't have any kids, but the cost of the kids from some of my peers, or, you know, what if your kid has a disability, the extra love that you have to put into the kid, you know, for certain amount, it can vary. It's something that we'll never probably be prepared for.
Yeah.
Having a kid, or, you know, you're never prepared for that. You just have to roll with the punches when it comes. But yeah, it can be stressful and difficult. But
And you know, like you know, there's a saying, I don't know if you ever heard this saying, that life is a cruel teacher. It gives you the test, and then it teaches you the lesson.
yeah.
And I think we all have some one way or another, we have learned the hard way, you know.
Or
So
watching other people, you know, hard way. Like we're watching them suffer, or watching them go from the bottom to the top, working their way up to the top of the box.
that's right. I agree with you, Mr. Don.
So I would agree with you that I'm not sure you could ever be prepared for, right? You try to prepare for, but
Yeah.
so I have 4 kids,
Okay.
and it's the greatest thing in my life, right? So having kids is wonderful, but kids are expensive, right? And they require care, and so again, since we're talking about finances, that's where budgeting, I know it's boring, it's a broken record, but budgeting and preparing and disciplines and all those things will help alleviate some stress when you have kids. And then you got to be ready for the curveball, because there's always going to be a curveball. You mentioned a disability, or it could be a learning thing, or it could be anything. There's a curveball sport.
Yes.
AAU basketball, right? We both love basketball,
Yes, that's
right? Travel ball, volleyball, this, that, dance, what name it. It's coming. A curveball's coming. So, since you're talking about finances, you just want to plan, be disciplined, etc. But please don't have children.
Have children. That's all. I was encouraging that to, you know, the people around me. You know, it's beautiful to have kids, so they know who they are. What is it called? One thing I did wanted to, you know, mention, because you're talking about like family dynamic and the implications of, you know, growing your family and discussing money. I feel like in some of the families that I have encountered, you know, whether it's friends or even family members, sometimes that finance topic is like a taboo topic, you know, like, Adrienne, like you ask your mom, for example, like, oh, finances, she might be like, no, you don't want to talk about that. Or, you know, one of, you know, Mr. Don's kids, they're like, Dad, I want to talk about budget. No, but you shouldn't talk about that, because that's a grown folk talk, they say, right? So what are the dangers of financial gatekeeping?
Number one is no get rich quick. Okay, so if you think or see something that you're going to get rich quick, 1 in 35 million people hit the lottery. So that's probably not where you ought to be invested. But, you know, it's funny, with kids, they may not want to talk about their finances. I don't want you in my business.
Yeah.
I don't want you to know what I'm doing, and those sort of things. So I hope that you could develop an open relationship with your family and be able to talk about these things. But if you can't, let's say you can't, then encourage them to see a financial plan or a mentor, get a coach. We have coaching sports all the time. Find a trusted advisor that could talk about those things and get you on a plan. Keeping a lot of things to yourself and maybe not fully understanding things is a risk.
Yeah.
So if you want to avoid some risk, you'll seek out a coach, a mentor, a planner, etc.
And I think it's important what he said is that you want to educate your kids, you know, because just because you're going to talk finances with your kids, it doesn't mean that, oh, I'm going to be telling my daughter like how much money I'm making, how much money is in the bank, you know. No, you can still educate them with keeping those, you know, personal information that you want to keep for yourself. Like you were saying, you know, grown folks talk, but you can keep those, but still sharing that knowledge, you know, and sharing them, setting them up for success. So what do you think about gatekeeping?
It can set a lot of people back. Couple years. I don't condone it, but again, in certain households, I understand that maybe you don't want to tell your kids how much you make, which it shouldn't really matter. But I don't think that it should be gatekept because you come in the world in debt. So we need to learn, how the money flows or just how to, use it to our advantage instead of using it to create bigger problems, bigger debt. So I think that it's very bad that I don't think you should gatekeep at all, but in an event that you feel like you can't talk to your family, hopefully you have a mentor or a friend or somebody you trusted, a trusted partner or something that you can talk to and bounce ideas off of, or, go to your financial institution and see what they have available for you.
And then, Adrienne, it's interesting that you say that we are born in debt because as soon as you're born, there's a bill, it might not be under your name, but you're the reason why you get,
Wait, I'm the dad.
But parents aren't going to be here forever.
Of
So
course.
that's something that you have to keep in mind too, because, you might have to take over your family's debt, but God forbid that doesn't happen, but, it has happened in certain people's situation, but yeah.
And Adrienne, you're talking about, go ahead.
Oh, think about that for 1 second. If your financial plan is rely on inheritance from your parents, that's not a good plan.
That's not fair.
You need to come up with a new plan.
Yeah.
Because, again, I won't talk about anything negative, but anything could happen to that. That should not be your plan.
Yeah.
You should come up with something different.
I agree with you. So, Adrienne, it caught my attention how you say that you don't come down gatekeeping, which I fully support. I think you should share your knowledge with, your family, your kids, whoever is around you, even your friends. So how can we reframe interactions to encourage sharing, teaching, and learning?
Make it fun. Again, we have all these apps available. We have webinars, just something to grab the attention, because they hear financial literacy. It's like, what's fun about that?
Yeah.
But, if we could maybe throw in like a giveaway or something that's not, going to grab the attention, maybe that'll be more for them to be like, okay, let me see what, they're talking about. I might win something, I might not, but at least I'll come in just to hear, and take something home with me. Soaking up the knowledge is always good, free knowledge.
Innovation, and I think that's key innovation. If you ever in the DMV area and we have an event, like an in-person event, or even in Capitol Hill, I know that Adrienne has volunteers for some of those events. We do financial quizzes, and sometimes you get headphones, you get Bluetooth speakers, so we make it fun, So if you get 70 or higher, you might get, one of those prizes. And the quizzes are very, very easy. It's easy as 1 to 3 to 10, so it's very, very easy. So how can we reframe interactions to encourage sharing? How can we make, the families and those around us excited about finances? Because, it might not be that topic that you want to talk to like during, dinner, or you don't want to talk to during like the Thanksgiving, dinner or anything like that. But it's something crucial that sets the foundation for our success.
I like what you're saying. Make it a game, or if your financial plan is to get to here, then when you get to here, give yourself a prize for that. Whether you give yourself a prize or it's a family prize, and then when you get to here, it's another prize, and when you get to here, it's another prize. So you can do things like that and build those into your financial plans and reward yourself for doing a great job at sticking to your disciplines and sticking to your plans. And education is so important.
Yeah.
I could bore you with a topic of saying, how is a 5% car loan rate better than a 0% car loan rate? When does that occur? And everybody in the audience, and you two are both looking at me, you're both raised up. Not. How is 5% better than 0%? Give you one example. If you take the cash back from the deal, because a lot of times the dealer will say $2,500 cash back or 0%. Well, if you take that $2,500 back on the car and finance with your credit union, you finance your car with your credit union, now you're only financing $22,500. And when you pay interest on $22,500, it still doesn't reach the $25,000 that was at 0%. So that's just a small financial education, because you're going, I'm going to pay 5%. I'm going to get 0. Now, if you get $2,500 back, 0. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's 2,500 back or 0, that's just one example. Can I give you one more?
No, go ahead, please.
One more.
Please, share your wisdom.
One more. Gap on car loans. Gap on car loans. So if you finance at the credit union, making up a rate, it's 5%. And the car dealership offers you 4.75. Everybody thinks that they're going to go 4.75, right? Well, I'm going to say, of course. But the credit union's gap is $450. And gap is insurance that covers losses that your insurance company doesn't cover. We get that later. Come to one of Eddie's webinars to learn all about it.
6 o'clock every Wednesday.
6 o'clock every Wednesday, right? But the dealership's gap might be $900. So even though you paid a lower rate, you still paid more for the car.
Yeah.
So it's these type of financial education things that we encourage you to listen, come to our webinars, go to your financial plan, whoever they may be. If your family knows about that, do those sort of things. So sorry for being long.
No.
You're getting excited. Over a week about these little things that folks don't understand.
Yeah.
All right.
Back on track. Sorry.
No worries. And it's part of the topic, want to make sure that, I'm learning. I wish I would have known this before I got my car, even though I love my car, but next time I get another car, I definitely, will keep that in mind. And then when you imagine a financial safe space, what does that look like and feels like?
Around people that have the same goal as me, might not, different path, different journey, but we both have the goal to become financial free or just to pay down certain things. So just people like-minded, that are go-getters as well. I don't want someone around me that talks about what they're going to do, but not putting any grind behind it. I want, people that are going to help each other. We might bounce ideas off each other, bounce, any kind of things off of each other, just so we can, get to the top together. But that's about it. Just like-minded people in the same safe space as me that aren't afraid to, talk about what we lost or, how low we are at the moment, because at the end of the day, we will reach the light. So.
All right. And Mr. Down, how do you imagine safe space when it comes to finance?
So to piggyback on Adrienne for a minute, just find like-minded individuals, I think was a great point, or a positive coach or mentor in your life. Because if you want the negative ones in your life, they will find you and try to bring you down, right? So don't allow that to happen. But for me, again, I'm older generation, so I want my home paid for. I don't want to rely on Social Security to pay my bills down the road. I want a nest egg. My goal would be to leave something to my children if I have that opportunity, but also to live comfortably, not extravagantly, but comfortably, and not have that financial stress we talked about earlier, right? I think that would be a goal for all of us as an individual person.
All right. Thank you very much to both of you for answering these questions. I know I call it the hot potato game, but I think that potato got burned. But we still got all this knowledge, and I appreciate each one of you because I like both perspectives. I can relate to that, but I can see what you're saying as well. And I think we're trying to get to those goals that he's talking about, and stay disciplined. I think that's one of the messages that we want to share with you all. Stay disciplined. And now, the moment we've been waiting for. I know I've been waiting for it. The wisdom drop. After diving into the why behind the financial stress and imagining our perfect financial safe spaces, it's time for that how. So Adrienne, what is something you wish that those in older generations understood about the financial landscape today for the younger generation?
I want to say that I feel like some of the, not the method, certain ways to go about tackling financial literacy may seem sort of outdated. But yeah, I would, that's probably for millennials, I feel like most stuff that they've endured and encountered is different from what we have to go through. So it's like, okay, we can use your advice, but it might not work just because it feels outdated.
So innovation, as we were saying earlier, is key. And just being open-minded, I feel like.
Open-minded.
So, Mr. Don, what are some timeless habits or advice you would like to pass on to the younger generation?
Take the free money. So what is free money? What might it look like? We talked about 401k earlier, right?
Yes.
401k, and you have to discipline early so you don't get in the habit of having that money in your checking account. So what I mean by that, 401ks, check with your tax advisor, check with your financial advisor. For 401ks, lower your taxable income so you pay less tax on your actual income. The next thing they do is your company may have a match. So the match is free money. And then they invest, and the investment results are free money. So if you can afford 5% out of your salary and your company matches 5%, you just got 5% free money.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the investment results on that. You also paid less taxes at the end of the year because that money was taken out before taxes. That's an example. I think we touched on it earlier. The tier savings plan, right? You have a checking, you have a savings, you have a money management, earns a little bit more. You have a CD, earns a little more. You have an investment, it earns a little more. And then you have a tier. But take it out of your paycheck early on and get used to not having it. It's probably the cheapest old school lesson because out of sight, out of mind, or whatever you want to do. There's tons of tools that can teach you all this stuff. You don't have to take it from me, but you like there's apps that could teach it to you way better than I could teach it to you. Fake.
I like the person interaction.
I agree with
I
you.
might not understand the questions that I have. So,
and then he's the person that's walking the walk and talking the talk. So no, you definitely give us some great tips and diversify your investments. Like we always tell people, when it comes, they come to these presentations that we do in person or even webinars and things like that. Don't put your eggs in one basket. Always diversify, as Mr. Don was saying us, and I definitely need to implement that myself. Thank you very much, Adrienne and Mr. Don, for having this conversation with us, and thank you for tuning in into USSFCU Spotlight Podcast. Until next time, may your finances flourish and your conversations about them be fearless. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Also, your voice matters. Share topics, suggestions, or questions for future episodes via email at communications@ussfcu.org with the subject line podcast question or podcast topic. You just might hear it in a future episode. If you're looking to deepen your financial literacy, check out our free weekly Wednesday webinars. Secure your spot now on our website, ussfcu.org/webinars. Thank you for shining with us. Subscribe and stay tuned for our next episode.